First off, I want to just say this: Baylor has a really good football team. Period. They got a really good football team. Those are bad elements. Really proud of Trayvon. Probably played at about 75%. He'll be a lot better by goal time. Hopefully Josh will be back. I'm very proud of my team. You know, we came up close. I bet you all thought I was going to go for 2, didn't you? Caught so much flack. But, you know, we came up so close last week and didn't have the opportunity this week to get back in it and get really rewarded for what they've been able to do. So outside of that, 10-2, it's an amazing year for these guys for everything they've gone through. It really is. I mean, you expect me to be jumping up and down, but I'll be honest with you, I'm tired. So.
How do you feel during the last play when you made the stop?
Well, yeah, I mean, the problem was you know, they ran off and on, and so we tried to get our big group in, so we ended up with our regular defense. So we called a play that we hadn't worked all week. We basically brought one of the corners off the edge, and he got a hold of his legs. So sometimes, I guess practice is overrated. So it's, you know, our kids have been stepping up all night. It's hard. It's hard for them. You know, they had to play with their third quarterback. I truly understand that because we've been having to do a lot of that stuff all year. So it's been a difficult time for all of them, and they've hung through, and they've been tough, and they haven't made excuses, and they've gone about their business. So, but I mean, you're sitting with me here because you guys think it's a rivalry. That's a good Baylor football team, very well coached, do the things they do, and it was a very good TCU team tonight. Found a way to win. And so if you told me he was going to go to overtime, I would have told you were crazy. So.
What was the play call for you on that last play where Ty and can't think of his name made the play at the on Chafin?
I think it's Julius Lewis. I think our corner. Well, like I said, we had not worked on with that defense in the game when they brought in all those tight ends and the big 400-pounders. So what happened was we hadn't blitzed it, so I just told him to come off the edge, and somehow our linebacker got through the crease.
After the game, why didn't you shake Hartraw's hand?
Why didn't I? I couldn't find him. I tried to go find him. I mean, I couldn't find him. So I would have loved to have shook his hand. I mean, him and I had a great conversation before the ball game. So
Coach, talk about your secondary. They don't give up very many yards, and you guys had great coverage all night on those pretty fast receivers. Can you talk about their performance?
We tweaked some things in our coverage, how we needed to play. We watched some things that Oklahoma did. And the kids believed in it. And, you know, we got fortunate. You know, again, it was raining. It was all the other things that went on. We didn't exactly light it up. I mean, it was pretty tough circumstances down there. So.
Gary, how would you rate the season overall, just given the circumstances you guys faced?
Hey. I mean, it's everything we've gone through. I mean, if you just look at all the things we've had to do early, all the players that were out, even for like the Texas Tech game, you know, you didn't have the other 2 senior defense bands. Davion Pearson was his first game back. If you just go down the list, through the list of everything that we had, it's just been outstanding. Coaches. Really, the sports staff, it's been a whole building success story because between our trainers, equipment guys, strength coaches, everybody doing what they were supposed to do, how they needed to do it, and nobody really lost faith in what was going to go on. I mean, you're going to count us out. You definitely would have counted us out last week, which that's why I tweeted out what I did. I mean, key to it is we're not going to make excuses. We're not going to make excuses. We'll play and let the chips fall, and we'll go about our business. We did the same thing tonight. I think that's the whole key, is to find a way to get things done and see how it goes. I mean,
10 to 20 years from now, when you look back, will this game stick out for you?
I don't know if it's sticking out. I mean, you're talking about sticking out. You're talking about Rose Bowl, you know, Peach Bowl. I mean, there's been 2005 game of beating Adrian Peterson. I mean, it's been some unbelievable ball games. The one thing that what'll stick out won't be so much the ball game tonight. It'll be the guys that played it, to be honest with you. I mean, the kids fought their tails off. And you had a couple true freshmen, guys that got burnt, a couple guys that got burnt early in the year that have fought back, gained confidence. It's one of those things where you can't start listing everybody and all their contributions of what they've been able to do for this season to be where it's at right now. From Aaron Green catching the tip pass to coming back in the Kansas State game down, 35-10 or 17. I mean, it's just been a long season. I'll promise you this: I'm glad the regular season's done. I've got an 8 o'clock meeting in the morning because we got recruits here, and I'll promise you this: I'm glad to go see them and not have to get up and write a script and start working on vertical routes. So it's just been a long year.
What do you think of the post-game scene with everybody on the field?
I try to get out of the way of it. My history has told me that whether they're on your side or not on your side, it's usually I start running around the perimeter trying to get out of the way. But obviously, I tell you this much: we would not have won this ball game. It wouldn't have been, especially our student section. I mean, the whole stadium was loud. I mean, we needed the help, and they gave it to us, to be honest with you. But especially the student section was just outstanding. Just outstanding. And they've been that way all year. Stadium's been that way all year, but they were just outstanding. I mean, it was definitely a we victory, not just a football team. It was a we victory. So.
On that last Baylor possession, on the first fourth down run, did you think they had not called timeout?
Yeah, I didn't think I had a little bit of a problem. But, had the same thing happen to us in the Texas Tech game, where Texas Tech where we thought we had a timeout. So I've learned, kind of like at home, I'm not going to win that argument. So just.
Coach, can you talk about the way Ty Summers bounced back this week? He had 23 tackles for you. Can you talk about his performance?
Well, I haven't seen it, but obviously somebody made some. But, he's a redshirt freshman. Traven's 198 pounds. He's a sophomore. Montreal's a freshman. Julius Lewis played today. He was a true freshman. Had the first pick that got called back because of the quarterback, roughing the quarterback. So, I mean, there was a bunch that went on.
Considering everything that this team's gone through this year, do you consider this one of the better jobs you've done coaching?
Oh, I don't know. I'm going to let you guys grade me. I mean, my job is just to win ball games. So, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. How much was your offensive staff struggling to find anything that would work in the second half of the conditions?
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't much going on. Again, they've got a good defense. I mean, very athletic. They did a nice job. They kept a spy on Trayvon. So anytime he broke down, they weren't going to let him run, and he wasn't full speed, so he wasn't going to make any moves and make anybody miss. And so and he did a good job, to be honest with you, just getting out of bounds so that he stayed healthy. I mean, I was worried about the one scramble where they really hit him pretty hard on their sidelines, whether he was going to play anymore. So,
how do you think the weather affected him?
Oh, I don't think the weather had as much to do with it. I think we got to get him fully healthy. I mean, it was just a tremendous effort on his part to come back and play. And here's the thing: starting on Sunday, he tape it up. He says, "I feel better." And so, what he thought better was last Sunday, and you saw he was probably at 75-80% tonight. He was what he thought better was about 60 last Sunday. So I mean, guy wanted to finish. He speaks volumes, really, what he's been for us here at TCU in his years he's been here, through all the highs and all the lows. So,
Gary, did you get a good look at your punter being able to get off that punt despite Oakman barreling down on him? I mean, that was maybe one of the key plays in the game, really.
Yeah, I wasn't overly happy with dropping it in the first place. So I never got to the part where he got it off well. We're just gonna say that you can't watch the brush. So it's in those kind of ball games you worry because we couldn't get the field flipped. The problem with that play was we finally got it out. Finally, we're going to get, this is the second to last possession. We're finally going to get the ball, punt it, and get them down in the 15. Maybe we can stop them, and then we get a short field because for the whole third quarter, we played the other direction. And it's one of those things where, when things like that happen, you're waiting. It's like you're wondering if you're going to win this because pretty soon they're going to make a play. And so.
You already said Tremont wasn't 100%. When do you think he'll be 100%?
I think he'll be back. I mean, we got a whole month.
Do you think he'll stay next year?
What's that?
Do you think he'll stay next year?
He's a senior. So, listen, he'll come back for 4 years. I'll let him. I mean, but I'll be honest with you. I don't know if he wants to do that. School's not necessarily he'll graduate in December. I think he's ready for him to go on to his next experience, to be honest with you.
Gary, with the weather and everything, big picture, how did this test your patience?
Well, we both had to play in it. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I can't call when I have heavy jackets on. Pretty much I just got soaked. I was frozen. So but I mean, it's frustrating because it's the end of the year. You got two really good football teams, and you wanted for everybody to see the best of everything. And today was a survival game. Who's gonna make the less mistakes, and who's gonna finally make a couple plays, and so.
10 wins means something more than.
Oh yeah, I mean, anytime you get into double digits, you better just handle it. This senior class, if you count their redshirt freshman year, in 2011 they were part of 3 double digit. They're 11-2, and then 12-1, and then they were 10-2 this year. So it's hard in a 5-year span to ever be a part of that many double-digit wins. You don't get that opportunity very often. It's hard to win ball games in college anymore. Hard to win ball games. Doesn't matter who you play.
Gary, excuse me if you've been asked this before, but what were the officials doing standing over the ball at the end of the game?
I think they were he got his headset on. I think he was confirming that it was short. On the last play?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were confirming that it was short.
From where?
From replay booth.
Oh,
Don't you know that's where we make sure? Don't you know we make sure all of
sometimes
that?
they get it right. Sometimes they get it right.
Don't get me in trouble with the officials. I'm always in trouble with the officials. Don't get me in trouble with the officials.
What do you think of your defense on Corey Coleman? Only had 1 catch.
Well, again, obviously 1 catch is it's hard to do against him. So, there's a lot of circumstances that went into that. Again, I'm glad we won the ball game. Kids played their tails off. It's one of those things where I think early they tried to, and they made mistakes with their young quarterback. And then I think they got away from it, except for a couple times. They didn't want to beat themselves because they have a good running game too. They got good running backs. That offensive line is very physical and gave themselves an opportunity. Our kids did a nice job of making plays. And so
what do you think of Josh Haraway's impact tonight?
I don't know. I'd have to watch the film before I can tell whether his impact was.
How did y'all prepare for a stronger team?
Same way we do everybody.
Just make sure.
Just got to block them.
On the scoop and score, sometimes coaches like the guys who fall on the ball, make sure you get the ball. Were you happy you picked it up?
Well, there's a rule. If you ever have to go back for the ball, then you have to fall on it. If you're going forward, you can pick it up. And he was going forward, and there wasn't a crowd. Yes.
Did you play the game?
Now that we know that, I don't know. I think probably that 4th down stop was right up there with it. But you'd also have to say catching the ball in the back of the end zone. I mean, it was just a lot of plays, especially when it comes down to there's not a lot of plays to be made. So when you finally do make some, people say, well, 4, 5, 6 plays make a difference in the ball game. I'd probably say that we were right around that number. It's kind of like clarifying, why did I go for 2 last week? Because up to that point, we'd gone for 2, and we were 100% on the road. We got to take ball games. Why did I kick the extra point tonight? Because we're at home. It's been on my rules since we've been here, so we were out of gas last week.
Do 2 more questions? Anything else?
Yeah, Gary, one more. I'm curious how much your game plan may have altered if you were paying attention to the forecast earlier in the week.
Well, defensively it didn't, but I did, we always game plan for a heavy run or a heavy pass. I mean, in this league, you better get ready for all of it. Finally, we started running the outside zone, running the stretch, and it helped us in the 4th quarter move the football. Probably should have went to it earlier in the ball game. I think we'd had a little bit more success, because if you let their defensive ends just tee off and rush the passer, you're going to get a lot of trouble, and we did. We got in a lot of trouble.
Could Jaden kick for you field goal this time?
Yeah. But we went on the 4th down the first time, because you're not going to beat Baylor kicking field goals. When you get in one of these kind of games, there's some games you kick field goals. This was not one of those games you kick field goals. So that's why we went early. Obviously, again, we can look at hindsight and say, well, we would have kicked it, we'd been 3 points up, and then we wouldn't have had to do all that stuff. Isn't that your guys' storyline now? Coach B screws up, he didn't kick field goal.
Last question.
Gary, you guys, Big 12 got left out last year. Obviously, you're a big part of that, unfortunately for you. But this year, after going through the whole league, how good is this league, and does it definitely deserve to do it?
Well, I always say the way you find out what a league's like is how they do in bowl games. Last year we said it. We got to get ready to play. I think you found out Oklahoma played Clemson. Clemson was a pretty dang good football team at the end of the year, and they carried that over. But I think you have 3 or 4 teams that are, especially at the top, that are very tough to beat, that have a lot of explosive players. And so, if you look just in the state of Texas, one of the things we have, we just got great skill. Look at Houston. You look at the skill and what SMU scoring points. You got all the schools here that can take you vertical, and so it's a different style than what maybe people. That's why I changed offenses 2 years ago, because it's just a different style. But sometimes you got to do what the Romans do. That's what they do. So go about your business. It's hard on a dry field with first-team quarterbacks. Those guys can really run, and our guys can really run. So, and you got a guy like P. Ryan in Oklahoma, Shepard. You got some great skill players. So,
Thanks, Coach. A lot of players.
See you. 10-2.